Hi, this is Kevin Wiley from KSG Photography. I'm just going to do a very short video today to show you the way that we can use creative lighting, lens choices and camera settings to turn an area which you might not at first glance think would be ideally suited to creating portraits into something that hopefully you find quite attractive. I've got my trusty subjects with me today, who will be my three dogs, as this is a fairly short notice thing. All my camera equipment, which you'll see very shortly, is packed away in a think tank airport accelerator. The area we're at, I can turn this camera around, used to be back in the day when I were a lad, was a BMX track. It was I don't know if it was the first one in Scotland, but it was certainly the first one we had round about in our area back when I was a wee boy. As you can see, it's gone to ruin over recent years as the local youth find it a great place to come and burn things, destroy things, smash glass. Obviously I'm going to be watching where I'm walking dogs today. We have a factory just over here through the woods, which I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it's very, very noisy. We have an industrial complex nearby, some local houses and stuff. But again, I'm sure you'll agree, if you're walking through here at first and you see the state of this place with the broken glass everywhere and burned out things, it's not your first choice of places to do a photo shoot, whether it's with humans or with dogs. I'm going to switch the camera off now. We're going to look around and find a nice wee area, and then we'll get it set up. Okay, I found an area where I think I'd like to work, and again, burned out trees, tin cans, fires. It's not exactly the first choice for a location for portraits, again, whether it's humans or for pets. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the light set up and hopefully show you how we can transform an absolute disgrace, if I'm honest, like this into something hopefully much more attractive. Righty, I've just taken some portraits of the dogs in an area which I think has worked quite well. First priority for me, especially in an area like this, I wouldn't normally shoot in this sort of area unless I really had to, but it's purely to show you how we can turn something that's not that attractive into something hopefully which is a wee bit nicer. Found an area without any broken glass, which was actually a hardship around here. Lots of metal and stuff lying around, so unfortunately I've had to tie the dogs up just now so they don't run around and end up with a hefty vet spill. Lighting that I've used today is a flash disc copy. It's not an original f-stopper. I apologise guys, but a quarter of the price it was this. I've used a Yongnuo 560mk2 speedlite fired by Phottix Strato II multi-triggers. I've been using a Fujifilm X-Pro2 fitted with the 50 to 140mm f2.8 lens. Now, because we don't have a reliable high-speed sync trigger, I've opted for a 6-stop ND filter in the front. I use the Hoya neutral density filter because I find it's very, very good at what it does without throwing any colour casts onto it. Trigger, again as I mentioned, is a Phottix Strato II multi from a throwback from my DSLR days. As you see there, it's a Canon fit. Briefly touching on the high-speed sync, I know some people, when you hear that, they'll automatically say, well, Cactus V6mk2s give us high-speed sync. I will be honest, I'm not particularly impressed with them. I have had high-speed sync a few times with them, but they have failed on me more times than they have actually worked. I know this is probably going to upset some of the Cactus fanboys. I was very excited when they did launch it and give us high-speed sync, but I find the build quality atrocious. One of these ones here, you won't see it, but the hot shoes are very, very loose. One will never give me high-speed sync no matter if I do it, and they're both running the current firmware. One does when the stars are in alignment, and its wife's made it a cup of tea that morning, so it's in a good mood. It'll give me maybe 5 or 6 flashes, and then it maybe kind of moves off position and decides, no, I'm not playing. So from a professional point of view, they failed me. They keep I keep them in my bag simply because they're there as an ultimate backup, which, thanks to the reliability of the Phottix triggers, I've never had to use. If the guys from Phottix are watching this, please guys, if you guys could make a reliable high-speed sync trigger for Fujifilm cameras, you would make an absolute bloody fortune, because I am not the only one who's experienced the lack of reliability from the Cactus triggers. I know there are advantages in as much as that they will work if you don't need high-speed sync, and you can set them up for various different camera manufacturers. I'm only giving you my experience. They have failed me, and as a professional, they're no longer taken out of the bag unless it's absolutely necessary. For me, unless I'm using my Godox lights with the Godox triggers, it's the Phottix triggers I reach for every single time. They're absolutely fantastic. So to touch on my exposures, because we don't have high-speed sync here, I'm running ISO 800. I had to go a wee bit higher because obviously it's not too bright today. It's quite an overcast day, but it's still reasonably bright. But the 6-stop ND did mean that I need to increase my ISO quite a bit without dragging the shutter too much. I'm down at 125th of a sec. Any slower than that, you know, I didn't want to risk it just in case the dogs moved position while I was taking the photographs. Obviously I'm shooting at f2.8. I wanted that f2.8 aperture to give me really tiny depth of field, so there's very little in focus, just the dog and a rapid fall off into the background there, so that those leaves that you saw earlier on in the trees kind of melted into each other and gave us a nice creamy bokeh. So you don't really see them particularly well. It just becomes a massive colour and stands out from the dog. I've positioned the dog today where the sun is hiding behind the clouds, but it is behind the dog's position, so it does give me a wee bit of separation from the background. Were it the case that it was a bit darker in here, or certainly once the foliage starts to increase during the summer, I would add another light, probably somewhere around about here, just to kind of lift the dog off, give us some separation. Well, hopefully you found this a wee bit useful, and I would certainly encourage you to look at areas that you might walk past every day. I do walk my dogs fairly close to here every single day, and I know a lot of people just walk past, and when they see me setting up photographs, they kind of wonder, you know, what's wrong with that guy, you know, because we see it every day. We walk past it, and you know, there are photographic opportunities absolutely everywhere. So go out there, look for them, find them, make the most of them. Learn how to control your camera, learn how to control your lighting, and you can hopefully see by the photographs at the end of this how we can turn a really disgraceful location, if I'm honest, it's kind of embarrassing, into something much more attractive. Feel free to add any comments, any questions you've got in the box underneath. I'll provide links to the equipment that we've used today, and let me know if there's anything else that you would like me to add in at some point later on in time. Thank you.